So now that we've had some remakes of the biggest Crash games to have ever come out, what's next for Crash Bandicoot? And more importantly, can we trust Activision to take Crash in a good direction? Let's discuss right now.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
Hello there, beautiful human. My name is RidersDX and welcome to my channel, where today we're going to be talking a little bit about Crash Bandicoot. So I've been dabbling a little bit in Crash content on this channel recently, and I want to keep going with it because as this channel gets bigger, I want to broaden the scope of the channel's audience and, just include more franchises in this channel, because ultimately I want this channel to become a really great place to discuss all sorts of video games that I find really interesting, not just Sonic and SpongeBob, although obviously I love those two franchises, but it is also really cool to take a break from them and talk about something a little bit new. So as you all know, Crash Bandicoot has come out with remakes of some of his most iconic games in his itinerary. We had like the Crash Insane Trilogy, which was a remake of the first 3 Crash games, which are very, very big and important to this franchise. That remake has garnered a lot of success and critical acclaim. It's been on some of the top 10 lists of best-selling games, not only the first year it came out, but also the year afterwards. So this is doing really great and it's really successful, and it points to a really good future for Crash. And now we've got Crash Team Racing coming out as well in the near future, and that game is looking to be just as successful, if not more, than the Insane Trilogy. So Crash is in a really good place. But a question that I've been pondering recently is, where does Crash go from here afterwards? Because he can't keep remaking games, obviously. He has to at some point come out with new material, a new game for fans to get. I mean, I guess they could remake the Wrath of Cortex or Crash Twinsanity. I actually would really love it if they remade Crash Twinsanity because I love that game, but the franchise can't survive off of remakes and nostalgia forever. It's getting to the point where, especially after Crash Team Racing comes out, the franchise can't really rely on nostalgia anymore. It really needs to start making new moves to really get a place in today's gaming market. It really needs to make a brand new adventure that's going to capture the attention of consumers and really establish Crash as a multi-millionaire franchise, as a franchise that's here to stay. Now, I think that Crash is in a really good spot, and he's at the point where his next adventure, if it's decent at least, or really good, then that's just gonna lead to more success for Crash, because people are thinking of Crash in a really positive light right now. The Insane Trilogy almost gave Crash a reset button, because we all know that Crash has had quite a rocky road, going between different developers and publishers, having his image changed so many times and so many different gameplay styles. Crash has really been through the ringer in terms of management, and this Insane Trilogy was a really cool move on the behalf of Activision, because it gave Crash a reset button, and now he has basically a clean slate, because he was basically reintroduced to a whole new generation of gamers, and now Crash has the attention of the world again, and his next move is very crucial. However, in terms of Activision, I don't have the most positive opinion on Activision, and I'm definitely not the only person in that realm of thinking. Activision has a really scrummy history of mishandling its franchises. So when I was a kid, I actually played a lot of games from Activision, and the reason that I played a lot of Activision games was not because I was a Call of Duty fanatic, because I definitely wasn't, but because I played a lot of licensed games. I loved playing all these different movie tie-in games, and Activision was literally the king of licensed tie-in games. I mean, they had the Shrek franchise, they had some Marvel movies too. Activision was the publisher of all these different games, so they quickly gained a name for themselves as being a very money-focused company, kind of similar to Electronic Arts. And yeah, as I kept playing more of those licensed games, I was a kid, give me a break. I was a kid, I really wanted to play my favorite video games with my characters that I love from my favorite movies and TV shows, so give me a break. But I kept playing more and more of the games, and I realized just how much each one got worse and worse and worse, and it really just started to occur to me that Activision churning out products for the sake of profit, not for the sake of quality. And afterwards, I kind of stopped buying things with Activision's name on it, because that became very apparent to me that that was what their mission was, that was what their priorities lay, and that was not a company that I wanted to support. So I stopped playing Activision games for a long while. And then Crash Bandicoot came out with the remake, and you know, I was kind of a Crash fan beforehand. My first Crash Bandicoot game was Crash Twinsanity, and I fell in love with that game. I loved it. It made me really angry as a child, but when I finished it, it was one of the most rewarding feelings I ever had as a kid, because I knew that game was tough for me, and when I got to the end and got to the credits, it felt like one of the greatest accomplishments in my life. So I was kind of a Crash fan. But then Activision came out with Mind Over Mutant, and I actually was a little bit surprised by this because I thought that they had published Crash of the Titans 2, but apparently they didn't. That was published by Vivendi Games, so yeah, that was very interesting to me. But Activision had just acquired the Crash license, and they put out Mind Over Mutant, and that came out to mixed reviews. I never played Mind Over Mutant. I've only played Crash of the Titans, and I absolutely hated that game, so I did not even want to touch Mind Over Mutant. But afterwards, Crash was just dead. He was basically dead for almost a decade, and this was really upsetting to me because I had gotten into the franchise when it was slowly dying. So it was really sad to me because I never really got to be a Crash fan for a long time, because as soon as I got into the franchise, that's when it started really going downhill, and that was just really unfortunate. And that was all Activision's management. Activision was the one that basically put Crash in the back of their cabinet for almost a decade, and that was a really crummy mood, and I'm still not happy with Activision for doing that. But some of my criticism for Activision also comes from the other franchises. Obviously, I mentioned before that I played lots of the licensed games. I especially dislike how they handled the SpongeBob franchise. I never played those games, so I can't actually comment on the game's qualities, but from what basically everyone says about those games, they really are some of the cheapest and worst cash-in licensed games to have ever come out, and that really just solidified my opinion of Activision even more. So it really was to my surprise when they came out with the Insane Trilogy game, and I started playing it, and it was good. It was really good. They could have easily messed it up, you know, screwed with the physics, you know, not give it great graphics and all that like they did with Mind Over Mutant, but they made a really great, solid remake of the original games, and that's because they gave Vicarious Visions, I think that's a company that created the remake, they gave Vicarious Visions the time and the space to really remake the game and make sure that it lived up to fans' expectations, and that was really great to see, because that was one of the rare moments that Activision actually made a great decision for one of the video game franchises. But now we're coming to the point where they can't remake games anymore. I mean, I guess they could remake Crash Bash, but no one wants to see that, so I don't think that's gonna happen. But now they're at the point where it's time for Crash to come out with a new product if they want to keep the franchise going, and I most certainly think they want to keep the franchise going, because otherwise they wouldn't be coming out with the Crash Team Racing remake, and it just makes sense from them from a financial standpoint, because the Insane Trilogy did so well in terms of sales. But now we are at the point where we need a brand new game to come out. We can no longer rely on remakes, and although it is a daunting task to remake a game, it's not as challenging as making a brand new adventure, because when you're remaking a game, you're just taking from the source material and just making it better, and that is challenging on its own, but it compares nothing to a brand new adventure, especially coming off the Insane Trilogy and Crash Team Racing, which are both going to be really successful at the end. Now we have to make a brand new adventure that lives up to those titles and pleases those fans, and that's where Crash might really struggle here, because it looks like Activision was more than willing to give Vicarious Visions the budget and the time to remake the games in a great fashion, but now they need the time and budget to make a brand new adventure, and I'm not confident that Activision is going to give Vicarious Visions this kind of care to their product. By the way, I've heard from a lot of fans that Vicarious Visions is making a new Crash game, but is there actually any confirmation that they are making it? Maybe there was and I just missed out on it. So if there is confirmation that Vicarious Visions is working on a Crash game, then please let me know in the comment section below, because I would love to read up on that. But if it's just speculation, that who knows if Vicarious is even making another Crash game. Like, this is all up to Activision. Now, I know I'm speaking very negatively about Activision, but it's rightfully so. However, there is a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, and this is because I actually realized that now that Crash is one of Activision's only thriving franchises now, and I was like, really? Because here's the background. I saw this tweet from a Crash news account. I'll I'll paste a picture of the tweet right now. It basically showed the franchises that were active within Activision right now, and it listed Call of Duty, obvious reasons, Crash, and then Spyro, and that was it. And I was like, really? I thought Activision had way more than that. Like there was Destiny, for example, but then I shortly found out after that Destiny was actually no longer under Activision. Bungie recently divorced from Activision, so that is very interesting. So Activision actually does not have that many franchises active right now, and that's a really huge difference from like 10 to 15 years ago when Activision was making all these different licensed games that were basically cash grabs. So now Activision is just not doing that anymore because those kind of games don't sell anymore. And here's why I think there's a light to the tunnel, because even though this sounds really bad for Activision, this may just mean that Activision is going to put more care into Crash now, because back when they put Crash at the back of the shelf and didn't do anything with him, they had all these other franchises to fall back on. So there was really no need for Activision to make Crash games in terms of their financial reports. But now Crash is one of the only franchises that are still making a profit for them. So now Crash is at the forefront. Crash is a franchise that's bringing in profit for the company. So this might coerce Activision to give a little bit more attention and care to the Crash franchise and actually make a suitable next mainline adventure for the series. So that is something to get a little bit excited about, because if I was Activision, then I'd want to make sure that one of my best-selling franchises was going to continue to do well while I try to find other IPs to develop, because now Activision only has these 3 IPs that are consistently selling and nothing else. And that is just crazy, because I remember growing up with Activision and playing all these different licensed games, and yeah, times have definitely changed. So that's basically everything I wanted to say. I am a little bit skeptical on how Activision is going to handle Crash. I really don't trust them still. I mean, I know the remake went really well, but I really need to see like a brand new game and see how they handle that to truly assess whether or not Activision is going to treat Crash Bandicoot right from here on out. But because Crash is one of Activision's only franchises, that might mean that Activision is going to give more care to the franchise. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you think Crash has a bright future, or do you think he's in trouble? Basically it. Just let me know. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to my channel if you like videos like these, want to see more in the future. Follow me on Twitter, RidersDX, or join my Discord server, the Spongy Garden. And yeah, that is everything. This is Riders, and I'm riding out.